in, into this stage of our careers, we you have to make a bit of a conscious decision to become a rider and not worry about the rest, not worry about selling horses, almost not worry about making money out of it. You just got to focus on the job of training and competing, and part of that is the longevity in the horses. You want to do it in a way that they can sustain themselves in the sport, because if you lose a horse through injury or what have you, then it's all that time and effort wasted in a way. Obviously, you've had the enjoyment up to that point, but we're just very proud of our system that works. We don't push them too hard at their one days. We've always got a plan where they build up and up and up, and then we go for it when it really counts. And what we do at home obviously works well, because we've had so many horses over the last few years that have been retired healthy, happy, sound as 18, 19-year-olds. So
yeah, it's brilliant. It's wonderful.
Ringwood Skyboy was a good example, who I think he holds the world record for completions at 5-star. He's 18, and he's actually been around 22 5-stars. So
he retired at 18, did he?
He's now doing dressage.
19.
19.
He was at Badminton last year.
And he's now doing dressage with our physio, Alice Dorman, who loves him to bits, and she's playing around with him, and they're the perfect match. So he's still going and very happy doing his thing. But yeah, it's a big part of it for us, is to produce them, train them, and keep them at top level and do the right thing by them. So
it's just wonderful to hear this, and I'm intrigued, because right at this minute I know that you've only just arrived in Spain, and we are going to go on to cross country after this, I promise. But it intrigues me that for some years now you have both, usually both of you anyhow, have spent a month in Spain on the Sunshine Tour show jumping, and you're eventers. And I believe you took a transporter, a polo type transporter down, and you've taken down 18 horses, is that right?
16.
No, only 16 this time.
And anyhow, it's a wonderful show, and I know you have a gym in your horse box which you very sweetly offered to Lucinda which was really, really kind. And they showed up, I think, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of each week. Is that right?
No, it's actually Tuesday to Sunday, 6 days. But the young horses
the young horses on the first
Thursday,
few days,
and then the older horses Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I see. Yes. Okay. So you've got them all there, and you'll be jumping 6 days out of 7, but each horse will only be doing 3 or 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And why? And you were the first people that really cottoned on to this Sunshine Tour, I feel, the first people that were really successful in eventing. What is it that it gives you?
Yeah, so I think the first year I came down on my own, maybe in 2016 perhaps, and I had a little bit of support from our federation. I had a bit of funding to use for some training, and at the time, his team trainer was Luis Alvaro, who's Spanish, of course. He's based in Madrid. So I came down and did 2 weeks at Luis's farm just outside of Madrid, and then came on down and jumped on the Sunshine Tour for 2 weeks. And Tim came down and spent a weekend with me, and it was a bit of an eye-opener. We didn't really know anything about this. It was like another world down here. There's a village of horses and
metropolis.
Yeah, there's some, obviously, some of the world's best riders. Just being able to be in a warm-up and watch, Cian O'Connor or the Whitakers, or there's some really world-class riders alongside you. So it wasn't just about.
I think what we discovered was that it, and that was Jonelle breaking the path into it, and so it wasn't like a big worked out strategy to come down, but we discovered through your experience that first time. I mean, jumping is jumping at the end of the day in terms of the horse and their muscles. So it develops that side of them to prepare them for the season ahead. And they do gain a lot of fitness through just jumping. Jumping those 3 days a week typically is what they do, and then a bit of an exercise during the week. But it was just everything else about this particular tour. There was a lot of space, because some of the tours, they don't have as many competition rings or training areas or places to hack or places to graze, whereas Vahia has it all in that respect. And for eventers, that's very important. Maybe show jumpers can take or leave that, or they have to take and leave that a little bit more. But for us, that was critical. There's somewhere we can do some canter work at 7:30 in the morning before people come out, and we've got a good area to do that. And It just works very well. Grass arenas, not everywhere has grass arenas that you get to jump on regularly during your time here, so that's good for us, where we have to do that quite a lot now in our normal sport. And it's just, we've just come back with horses coming into their coats earlier, you know, bouncing with strength and health and ready to go. And we've always, I remember when you came back that first year, you came to your first horse trial, Oldham horse trials. You left the start box and you said you were dead-eyed Dick. You just felt, having jumped 1,000 show jumps, even though you've gone up a few gears for cross country, she just galloped up there and just, you know, just like clockwork, just jumped around the cross country. Obviously helps have a bit of the ability you've got as well in the background, but it was definitely telling that she had been very well prepared for the year ahead. And we've just found it, sorry, I'm going on a bit, but it has been incredibly beneficial for good jumpers and not so good jumpers as well, because in eventing, they're not always a top classic jumper, as we know, but if they learn how to deal with jumping in their own way and in their own right, by repeating the system of going in the ring and jumping around, then they become better. And if they've got the right mind in them, that they want the desire to jumps well for you, then they will just get better, and it becomes
and I think really a critical thing for me, I always deemed the jumping to be my weaker phase of the three, and I still do, to be honest. But you know, just coming and jumping some bigger, not bigger tracks, we don't really jump bigger than 135 down here, but I guess just being a bit more exposed to it, it just started to feel a bit more normal. And I wanted to, you know, walk day 3 at Badminton or walk day 3 at the Olympics and not be overawed by the track. I wanted to feel a bit more comfortable with it. And, you know, I think it certainly has done that. Tim came from a background of jumping more so than I did, but, you know, that ability to deliver day 3 under pressure is just imperative now, and it's certainly helped me immensely from that point of view, I would say.
Yeah, that is absolutely echoed by Lissa, who's just done it twice and goes into an arena, albeit it's only Lyon d'Angers, but it's a very grand arena with the television and everything. And she just says, I don't feel overawed by it anymore. There's a television screen in nearly every arena on the Sunshine Tour. And I think it's the most wonderful mindset.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a wonderful thing that a fashion that you've started, for sure. Now I guess we'd better move from that to cross country, because that's what we're all about. Several interesting subjects we discussed the other night with our 2 engineers of finally a gold medal that was won after 49 years of a desert in Britain. Dickie Waygood and Chris Bartle were the mechanics behind that, and they were very interesting. And we talked a little bit about the fundamentals of cross country, and dressage has its scales of training, 6 scales, and we wondered what your feeling was about the scales of training for cross country. What's the cross country equivalent?
Yeah, okay, that's an interesting question. I think, I guess firstly, we don't overtrain the cross country, I would say. Within our system, we're quite natural about it. I think there's a lot of fundamentals that carry over from your day-to-day flat work with a horse. You know, the ability to ride a horse straight from the leg down 2 reins has to be.
If you reflect on the 20-year-old Jonelle Richards, were you galloping around? Were you doing dressage? Or were you galloping around jumping jumps?
Oh, I was just trying to do everything.
Well, you probably did a lot of cross country jumping back then.
So you're saying we do less now?
Yeah, we do less now in the last 5 years, I would say.
Yeah, but that's what I just said. We don't do a lot.
But I love what you say about, and this was very strong with Dickie and Chris, the straightness, right? Down 2 reins. That comes straight back to come out of both of your mouths too.
But yeah, you know, that ability to ride a horse in a good balance between 2 legs and 2 reins at any given moment is imperative. Then, you know, you start to get a bit more complicated. Well, you know, it's not that complicated, but then having the ability to, you know, access more gears within those paces, you know, that then starts to make your cross-country riding smoother. You know, you want to be able to make a smaller change over more strides to maintain that beautiful rhythm. You know, adding to that, obviously, then the rider's ability to feel that rhythm and see a stride out of that rhythm, you know, trying to be efficient. But a lot of that, you know, for us, I would say, comes down to our day-to-day flat work.
Yeah.
And we don't overtrain the cross country. I know it's very fashionable now in England. We see a lot of this arena eventing, and you know, I think it's definitely got merits, but it's not a huge part of our system personally.
When you've got your young horses, and again, this might not be something you do so much of now because you've got so many experienced horses, what's your ambition with your young horse, a fairly green, raw horse? What is it that you're trying to instill in him?
From a cross-country perspective?
From a cross-country perspective.
So, for example, we have at Mere Farm, where we've been for all these many years, is a bottom field that has lots of bits and pieces of cross-country. And I just want them to go down there to go where I want them to go. So that's half the battle at some points along the way. Sometimes you need to lead, sometimes you need to have a conversation that, you know, no, we need to go into that corner. You can't just sort of scoot out against my inside leg and run up the hill there because you're a bit nervous, or because that's where home is, or that's where you heard a horse call back to you or something. So it's about going where you want to go, playing around with things. So it's that control element. And just for them to start to realise it's quite fun, because at the end of the day, they're an animal that loves to run and jump and go places. You know, we put them into, hopefully they are. But yeah, we put them in arenas, we do things there, and then obviously that's with the grounding of us being able to enforce the same questions or requests when we're out in the cross-country environment. But really, that's it for me. We go down there and try and make it fun for them, playing over the logs and bits and pieces, and then it's about finding different questions that is terrain related, or up and down, off banks, ditches. What do we call a coffin jump these days? Open ditch. open ditch where they wiggle on the side. Yeah. And then that's just like the biggest, scariest thing in the world. But then after a few minutes, they realise they can skip over it, no trouble.
And perhaps, you know, if we go back to the type of horse, you know, I think we are both attracted to, while we don't have a particular breed, it has to be an athlete. You know, when we go and look at a horse that has a leg in each corner, has some sort of natural balance, and as a bit of a natural athlete is really high on our priority list. So perhaps that helps in our slight minimalistic approach to specific cross-country training. And then I guess the next thing is, you know, we really don't mind having a problem at an event with these young horses. We're not out to win a pre-novice, we're not out to win a novice. So we tend to take them out and learn on the job. And if that, you know, equates to a wobble and a coffin and a 20, we can live with that. So, you know, we kind of let them learn on the job as well.
Do you find you try and get the fundamentals, the sort of water, ditches and banks into their confidence first before you hear?
No, we definitely do that. And I think we, these days, probably go cross-country schooling maybe one or two more times than we used to, just for those things. We might just go and focus on the water jump, you know, so they understand it and they realise it's not something to fear, it's something to have some fun, have a splash and those sorts of things. But yeah, just going back to the young horses, sometimes you might be a little bit stale on the arena, so I'll actually take them down for a cross-country school to inspire them, to actually show them what we're really aiming towards in their life, and then they get this joy back into them, and then you can go back to the arena. So sometimes it's a benefit like that way around. But no, it's... And
then, I guess one other thing I've taken to more so over the last few years is I quite enjoy like just walking and trotting up and down a few banks and ditches, you know, that they understand that they are going because they know that they must stay in front of our leg and go, not because we're using speed to get to the other side. You know, so, you know, with the young horses, we'll think nothing of, you know, walking up to some banks, you know, letting them stumble up and down a couple of times and, you know, letting them stumble into a wee ditch or something. But, you know, just so they are constantly aware of where their legs are and, you know, that theory that they know they're going, because they stay in front of the lead, not because we are using speed, and they're actually not quite aware of what they've done.
So you're really helping them learn what I call hand-eye coordination at walk, which is such incredibly valuable pace, because they have time, don't they, then to assess, and time equals confidence is something I sort of feel I've always had. And I love what you said, Tim, about they learn in those woods and courses at home. They learn to go wherever you ask them to go. And it's so refreshing to hear you say that, because I come from an era when that was all we were told cross country. You have got to develop the confidence in your horse that is sufficient that he would walk off the edge of a bridge if you asked him to. And when we got to the ski jump at Badminton, which was the most difficult fence I've ever jumped at Badminton, 1 foot high, were jumping over that into the branches of the oak trees. They could not see anything. That was when it came to pay, that they had over the years learnt that you were to be trusted and they were to go wherever you asked them to go. And I rather look upon it as a sort of triangle. I want my horse to trust me, and then he'll trust himself, and then I will trust him. So it's a three-way thing. And I feel you've just beautifully outlined how you do that with your young horses without having a very posh cross-country course. You've probably got 12.5 fences in a field, but you've also got some super woods and valleys and all sorts of things. And hopefully your new place, because they're moving base down to Dorset or Somerset, West Country.
Dorset,
Dorset. Hopefully you've got, well, you'll no doubt get out on those hacks and find lots of things that can keep this sort of a feeling of your horses, and even your older horses. I mean, although we have to be careful, we don't want to fall in a hole on our older ones. Even them, I think, who spend so much time on the perfect surfaces, cantering and perfect surfaces schooling, they need to let their ankles bend and twist a bit. Would you agree, over rough ground?
Yes, I would agree. I think it's important that they feel comfortable on those sorts of surfaces, the changeable surfaces, and we do a lot of that. We play around in different places, but with a young horse, it's much more of an importance in the respect of their education and for where they're going in life, and for them to develop the balance. And like Jonelle says, hopefully they've got the athleticism to cope with these things, that they find it easy and they learn something about themselves, and we can carry on.
I love, Jonelle, your description, and it's such a super one, a leg at each corner, and it's been a Thelwell, cartoonist Thelwell inscription forever, but it's such a good one, a leg at each corner, and you can feel it on a horse. He either is like that and well balanced, or he isn't. And I think even if they're not naturally, they can jolly well learn an awful lot about themselves.
So should we carry on at the scale of training?
Oh yeah, go on then.
So then as they go up the grades, because it's only novice time where you really get things a bit skinnier or related off a bank, 3 strides to something that requires a bit of accuracy, I'll often actually have a problem at the competition, and then I'll go and do my homework a little bit, because up to that point, you've just been getting them used to so many different things, and there's only so many days in a week. So to get there to a competition, they splash through the water fine, and then I'll jump off the bank and they'll skim past the skinny down the bottom. So I'll go back and explain to the owners, don't worry, there's no problem. I'll go home and I'll educate him over this particular thing, and next time we come out, he'll recognize it and it'll be fine. So it sometimes happens that way around. Sometimes the horses sail through up to intermediate, don't they, before you even advance, before you have any significant issue with accuracy and combinations and things. But there does come a point that you have to deal with that, and there's various ways that you deal with that. It's either just by repetition and showing them with some wings and repeating it until they really understand if it's a genuine thing, or sometimes you need to recreate the problem at home a little bit, and then to show them the way, and then they understand, so it just depends on the scenario. But it goes back to what you said about reins. You're down both reins, you're down between both legs, and if the horse is going to deviate from that, then they need to understand the whys and hows of why that.
It really interests me, Tim and Jonelle, that you both come at it from the point of view of, we'll see what he doesn't understand. We'll go to a competition, we'll do our fundamentals, and then we'll see if we have something he doesn't understand. He may not